there is a notable difference in the for sale by owner crowd, and the results are quite interesting. This is your host, Ron Wysakarski, for the Black Hole of Real Estate and the FSBO market, for sale by owner, FSBO. Interestingly, you would think at a time like this, more people would be going that path, whether to save money or because there is a proliferation of tools out there to help you get your home sold on your own, that people would actually be doing it, like in record numbers, and is actually quite the opposite, which is interesting. You see, last year, 2024, a record low 7% of owners sold their homes on their own. And this is at a time when it was put out there that you would have to have these buyer brokerage agreements right now, very similar to the listing contracts, for pricing, transparency, and commissions, to help consumers understand that when you purchase a home, there was commission involved. And while some may say, well, we knew it was always there, well, look, there was lawsuits, there's new stuff in place, and you got to have it right now. So that's off the table right now. And for many people, they thought, well, geez, with all of this pricing transparency and people seeing the numbers, they would probably go out there and do it on their own. Interestingly enough, on the seller side, there's always been a way, to help yourself get it sold by paying to have a company put it on the MLS with limited service options where you just talk directly to the owner. You're just paying for a posting. That's all you're doing. And one would think, with the economy the way that it is and people trying to save money and costs rising everywhere with inflation, that there would be just record numbers. But it was an all-time low last year, 2024. 7% of property owners sold it on their own. A all-time record, 91%, sold with an agent. Now, I'm not sure what the other 2% was over there. Maybe there's some fractions, but you get the idea. Record low on the FSBO side, record high on assisted sales where they hired a full-service agent. And then you get to this year, and we're at an even lower number. We're at 5% right now. And these are statistics from the National Association of Realtors, so NAR, and we believe them to be true. And if that's the case, not only was there a record last year, but now they're going to beat that record by, 20-some%. So it's a big, big drop. And one has to wonder, why aren't more people doing it on their own? Because you can absolutely pay to get your property on MLS, and you go to any number of social media sites, and yet it's not happening. Now, when you dig deep in the data, you're going to find that when someone sells it on their own, the median sales price nationwide is $360,000. And when they use the help of an agent, a licensed broker, the number is $425,000. So $425,000 is an 18% gap. And I'm not telling you that if you sell it on your own, you're going to lose 18%. What I'm saying is that nationwide, the statistics are telling you that homes are selling for a lot more money when there's an agent involved. And you can pick apart that sampling if you like, but that's a really big gap. And let's face it, 18% is, I'm going to say, more than a typical commission. And there's no such thing as a average commission or a typical commission or a fixed price. We know that. We can't say it, so let's not have that message below over here. But let's just suppose, how many times do you see a commission of 18% or higher in a real estate transaction? I'd say not a lot. So with that in mind, if we're having less sales and there's way more money involved when there's a brokerage and an agent involved, it causes somebody to wonder, well, are we seeing a dynamic shift where now the vast majority of people in increasing numbers are going to want to hire an agent? I don't know that anybody would have predicted that. Maybe we thought it'd be the same or a little bit more, because I think people would venture out there and try it. It's just not happening in practice, which leads us, to the other side of this over here. What would an owner do if they were going to sell their property? Well, I think you would pay to play and get it like in MLSs and on social media and all the big portals. But weirdly, the numbers show that more than 40% of the people for sale by owner did zero supportive marketing. So in essence, I guess we took a garage sale sign, put for sale by owner on it, and stuck in front of the house and waited for people to come by the house. And if you were wondering, what's the dynamic shift in here? I think the one thing we can really point to right now is in an up market, which we're not in right now. We're a neutral market. It could be a buyer's market for some areas of the country, but let's just call it neutral. It's about equal for buyers and for sellers to compete in the playing field. And I think it's harder for someone to sell on their own if you don't have all the tools, the negotiations, the contracts, and the expertise and the savvy and the desire to have people in and out of your home, handle all the phone calls and the paperwork, the things that, we say, we would gladly do to save the money. In practice, people actually don't like to do it. We're finding record numbers of phone calls not being answered. Someone's calling you to buy your home and you're not answering the phone because you think it's a robo-dial or don't want to deal with it, and not returning emails or responding to text messages or being super pre-selective about, well, I don't think that they're the right person to buy the home. Whatever that is, the homes aren't selling very well when they're for sale by owner. And apparently there's some work done by, real estate agents and brokers. And I say this tongue in cheek. I think there's a lot of people in the business that work super hard. I think there's others maybe can get by, I don't know, with good looks or something like that. But I think it takes a full effort to sell a property these days. If it's an up market where everything is selling in a nanosecond, like during the COVID times, that frenzy, I think you'd have a better success rate selling on your own because they're going to buy it anyways. And it's up market and people are highly motivated. They were doing crazy things like, we'll just buy your house. We'll pay you above the listing price. We don't even want inspections or appraisals. We'll just take it. And by the way, hey, if you want to live in the house for the next couple of months, who cares? We'll take it later. That's what we were going through. That was crazy. But that was an easier market to sell by owner. And now, because it's harder than that market to sell a property, I think this is where part of the problem was coming in. And with the marketing ability for a licensed agent typically being greater than that of someone selling on their own, there are some advantages to hiring an agent, quite possibly enough to cover the cost of the commission and then some. At least that's what the numbers are being reported back to us. So where do we take it from here? If you're going to sell it on your own, I've kind of given you a little bit of a blueprint, if you can read between the lines, or how to do it. And if you're less inclined to take it upon yourself to sell on your own and hire an agent, then you're like the vast majority of the people, because a record number did it last year, 91%. And it looks like that number is going to go into the 93 range, 94 range, because only 5% of the people are selling on their own this year compared to 7% last year, which was an all-time record. And there you have it. So if you got questions about this, let me know. I want to be the source of information for you to help you make great decisions in the real estate space. This is Ron Wysokarski for the Black Hole of Real Estate.